maybe we should jump in straight away. We have Diversified, who are the company themselves have helped to build this incredible studio for us. And here we have Paul Harding, Solutions Architect at Diversified. So good to have you here, Paul. Welcome.
Welcome, Paul.
It's your first time in the Avixa studio, first time on the booth. How's it feeling?
Yeah, I'm going to make sure that I don't say anything I shouldn't.
No, you're perfectly suited for it.
Yeah.
No.
How's the show going for you? Are you kind of tied to the booth, or are you able to walk around?
Yeah, so the plan very much is to walk around, both with to see suppliers and then to take our customers to see suppliers. So it's been pretty full on. We've not done possibly half of what we thought we'd have done by now, but it should be good.
Yeah, something about best laid plans and all that.
Well, yes, they all go out the window straight away.
Yeah.
So
at a show like this,
trying to be a bit more flexible, should we say, at the show.
Absolutely,
sort of moving forward.
Definitely. So let's get straight into some questions, if you don't mind. So I'd like to know how the convergence of broadcast, AV, and IT is changing the way that production environments are designed and operated today, from your perspective.
Yeah, so what we see throughout the industry is that people are demanding more from their AV infrastructure. So certainly when we look at enterprise clients, people are moving from deployments of single rooms where they might have meetings with one or two external people, to requiring infrastructure that enables them to do town hall meetings, bring in external customers. And to do that, we're then looking for higher and higher production value. So very much like what we're doing here, it's no longer a mobile phone camera pointing at someone and transmitting it out. And so as we increase those production values, then the complexity of the solutions goes up, and the key is to try and simplify the operation of those spaces whilst increasing that production value. Again, the leaders within the industries, within those companies, are looking to engage people more directly, and so we see increasing use of multi-camera solutions, which is always a fun game to play, try and work out how many camera angles there are in a studio or in a room, to see how it's being produced.
Yeah, and it's quite incredible as well, I think, that sort of market still exists in the corporate world, because with the rise of like TikTok and like YouTube creators, when they're just doing it on their phone, there is still really that demand for the high-end, high production value stuff in like corporate environments, town halls, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, and part of that as well is of course the fact that if you're producing your results and sending them out to shareholders, you don't really want, single camera, off the cuff content is a really, exploded into the marketplace.
Yeah, and it has its place.
But it has its place, but at the same time, you don't want that level of production on, as I say, your quarterly results or sort of key town hall meetings and things. So.
Well, definitely that elevation of production value. It's wonderful for us in this industry, which means more and more people are understanding a little bit of what we do and how they can really enhance their communications within their organizations. Yes, it's no longer just a meeting. It's really taking it to that next level.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, things are getting a little bit more complex. And as we're seeing broadcast and AV converge faster than ever before, it's bringing a lot of new ideas and new solutions to the table, which we absolutely love. So what broadcast AV trends and hot topics are having the greatest impact right now that you're seeing?
There's a multiple of factors. I mean, one of the key points is that both the broadcast and the AV industry are moving towards IP-based solutions. So utilizing, off-the-shelf commercial solutions rather than bespoke equipment. But at the same time, there's cloud solutions. So once I have my signals within an IP workflow, I could move to cloud-based production. And the number of options available, starts to explode. And the challenge there is understanding what the right solution is potentially for what you're trying to achieve. And in part of that is we see a lot of evolution of standards. So, to touch on some, NDI, SMPTE 2110 coming from the broadcast side of the solutions, and now more recently IPMX, where you've got a real convergence of a solution that's based for broadcast as well as a solution that's being put together for corporate AV.
So when it comes to the challenges of organizations, obviously people are needing to upgrade their broadcast AV systems as the time goes on and as challenges and kind of demand increases. How do organizations sort of, what challenges are they facing in order to make sure that they maintain their reliability, their scalability and uptime?
I mean, I think, as we've already touched on, the selection of solutions is very challenging within that space. Do I want to deploy something within cloud? What's the reliability that we're looking for? How do I upgrade? And defining a coherent strategy and solution is sort of key to overcoming some of those challenges. And the main point within that is to understand what the customer requires from a workflow perspective. So it's very important when we talk to our customers about what they're trying to achieve and to understand what their workflows are, what they're trying to get out of the system, so that we can make sure that the solution that's being put forward, whether that's upgrading, whether that's moving to a cloud solution and so on and so forth, fits within their requirements, what they're trying to do as an organization.
Absolutely, and I think you really need to make sure that there is that sort of forward thought about scalability for the future, right, when you're kind of helping them out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, flexibility is then key to what you're trying to achieve. But it goes back, I'm going to hark on about the same point, but that workflow is part of it. So it's not only understanding what people require at the beginning, but also where do you see this going? What is next? When you want to do a large keynote speech, how does that change the dynamic of what we're doing? And again, within a corporate environment, we see a huge requirement for hybrid spaces.
Yeah.
So one day it could be a small meeting where people have set the tables out and that we're using the AV infrastructure to show slides for discussion. And then later in the same week, that same space could be being used to do an auditorium, a panel like this, and then obviously film that, archive it, and make it available across the
spectrum of opportunity. And do you sometimes have to take a slightly supervisory role in terms of like actually advising people of what they could be planning for in the future? Because sometimes they don't know what kind of future possibilities there are.
And I think that's a great point, because again, what we're trying to do is advise and educate our clients so that they are selecting the best solutions.
Yeah.
And we can't dictate. It's not a. It must be this. But a lot of the time, understanding what options there are as you move forward. So, what can we do with this space? What would happen if we put a nice LED wall behind there for you, for example, instead of just a couple of screens on the wall? What's the opportunities that you then have for those increased production values?
Nice.
No, that's great, and that's wonderful that Diversified is helping your customers, really understand intentionality and what the message is that organizations want these solutions to really provide, and helping them to understand you have to think long term and into the future as opposed to just like right now. So I think that's fantastic. If you could just share a little bit more about how Diversified is really helping to support organizations through their broadcast AV transformations, that would be lovely.
Yes, so I mean, Diversified's a relatively large company with a huge amount of experience. So, and there's some interesting challenges in industry. So in the US, Diversified is known as a broadcast systems integrator, as well as doing stadiums and corporate spaces and enterprise. Within Europe, Diversified mainly up until a few years ago was more than 95% enterprise, so meeting rooms, the kind of hybrid spaces that we're talking about, but not so much on that broadcast side. And what we've done is we've formed a team. We have solutions experts such as myself who are then available to talk to customers and walk them through that. And what we try and do is to draw on that experience. So if I don't have the experience about a specific, AV enterprise solution, I've got a colleague that I can turn to, and they're going to give me that solution. If we start talking about building out an experimental solution within a stadium, for example, or museum space, then we have expert teams in the US, and we have experts within Europe who can then work on that. I mean, it goes back to, and I'm sorry, I did say I'll keep saying the same thing. It goes back to that workflow. What are you trying to achieve? What is it that you're trying to, and what we really want to do is to be working with our clients from the beginning. So from that first inception of, we want to build a TV studio, we want to build our stadium infrastructure so that we can do X, Y, and Z. And the earlier that we can become involved within that, then potentially, and hopefully, the more assistance we can then provide to the customers to achieve it.
I appreciate you repeating that, because those issues are very important and vital, and we really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us, Paul.
No, it's been great.
But we really appreciated it.